Welcome back to another snorkeling adventure. Today we're going to be snorkeling in sinkholes, looking for rare creatures, specifically the cave crayfish. I've got Bill with me today, and unfortunately neither of us realized how far it was to these sinkholes, so we're going to be carrying a lot of our gear in suboptimal ways, but we'll get it done. We are very prepared to find rare crayfish and snorkel. I cannot emphasize how underprepared we are for this hike to get there. We've gone like 100 feet and we're already readjusting. Good start. So here's a gear breakdown. We got the fins, camera, drone, got the weight belt on. That's not feeling too good right now. Mask, wetsuit top, because I'm definitely not carrying the bottoms, and then the camera on this little head thing. We're rocking and rolling.
Make sure to show off the head strap there.
Oh yeah, it's working so far. I'm not sure how long it's gonna stay like that, but hands free right now, baby. Sweatpants tucked in socks is a nice touch. This is good tick prevention.
Tick safety. Tick safety is no joking matter.
Says the guy who has like 10 bites right now. Holy cow. This wasn't our original destination, but that's pretty cool. May visit this spot on the way back. It's pretty sweet looking. After about, I don't know, I guess we did like a mile, we have arrived. Wow. It is crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
Wow, what a crazy spot. All right, quick little geological lesson for you. A sinkhole is different than a spring, in that a spring has water that's flowing out of it. A sinkhole doesn't necessarily have that. This sinkhole is also what's called a karst window, where this water connects to the aquifer below. Not all sinkholes are karst windows. Some sinkholes are just collapses where the ground's unstable because of that subterranean topography. This one happens to be a sinkhole and a karst window. Lucky for us, because it means it's got crystal clear water from the aquifer. We're gonna snorkel in. Time to suit up. Didn't want to carry the bottle of kelp lube down here, so gonna have to get this on in the water. It's kind of cold. 72 degrees. Every now and then, you find a place in nature that feels totally ethereal. Right from the rip, I could tell this was one of those places. All this beauty just quietly persisting in the middle of the woods. I struck off through the light beams to the deepest corner of the sinkhole, and I couldn't even see the bottom. Then up from the depths came Bill, a truly majestic ascent for a dude who's really just out here looking for crayfish. I floated over the hole and looked down into the blue-green abyss. Then I grabbed a breath and headed down. I dove down to about 40 feet, but the karst window continued on into the darkness, leading back into the aquatic subterranean maze of the Floridan aquifer. I kept an eye out for crayfish as I followed along the limestone wall at the mouth of the underwater cave, but all I saw were cool rocks. I was running out of breath, but I did take a couple seconds to appreciate the view above from down below. And then I needed to breathe, so up I went. Bill took off on another dive to look for crayfish, but his search was yet again unsuccessful. Apparently, these crustaceans weren't going to go easy on us. Oh, and then here's the view below from up above. Pretty stunning no matter how you look at it. On the far side of the sinkhole was a large mat of Shrek-colored vegetation. It was like a translucent green ceiling over the deep end of the sinkhole. This is duckweed, a lot of it. At first glance, it might look like an algae bloom, but it's not. Now, duckweed does thrive in high nutrient environments, indicating that even remote sinkholes like this one aren't safe from nitrogen pollution, which in this area is mostly caused from agricultural runoff. However, on the bright side, in contrast to algae blooms, duckweed can be effective at removing nitrogen from the ecosystem. There are multiple species of duckweed, and several are actually native to Florida. And the still waters of karst windows are pretty good habitat for the plant. Duckweed is capable of reproducing like most plants, with flowering and seeds, but is also able to spread incredibly quickly by asexual reproduction. Each individual plant can produce buds that break off and grow their own set of leaves and free-floating roots. Although it looks nice and smooth from above the surface, I was kind of surprised to find how fuzzy duckweed looks from below. Each little pair of leaves had its own dangly set of roots, like the weirdest upside-down shag carpet you've ever seen. Also found that it was pretty easy for them to fill my snorkel and make their way into my mouth, which honestly was not ideal. I've always found duckweed to be pretty fascinating. It was pretty sweet to get an up-close look at it in this environment. At the edge of the mat, a few mosquito fish were hanging about. It's kind of like they're on the edge of a tiny upside-down forest. And then one of the little fish headed out into open water. I thought it was pretty cool how the sunbeams would illuminate its entire body like a light bulb. Or I guess like a fish bulb. Anyways, it was cool. But now it was time to continue the search for crayfish and explore the rest of the sinkhole. Unsurprisingly, there was a bit of algae, but I guess it could have been worse. It's not a good sign for water quality, but I am a sucker for some vibrant greens and blues. I just wish it was from other aquatic vegetation. Speaking of which, however, as I continued my snorkel, I did see quite a diverse group of aquatic plants in the sinkhole, and that made me happy. There were small clumps of water shield trying to work their way up to the surface. I also saw a few wandering trails of pennywort. And last but not least, red ludwigia. It was somewhat sparse, but still present. Gotta love that brilliant red contrasting with that aquifer blue. And of course, we can't forget the wildlife. I spotted a couple warmouths hanging out along the edge of the sinkhole. There are also a few small schools of red-eyed chubs. There are clearly a handful of residents in the sinkhole, but I imagine that every now and then you get a few animals that are just simply passing through, bouncing between pools, but mostly what we were seeing was fish. Oh, and of course, there were more mosquito fish. By this point, I had made it to the far side of the sinkhole. There was another drop-off that wasn't quite as deep as the first, but it still led down into some kind of underwater cave. I headed down to check it out. This cave was much narrower, but as I looked back into it, I saw a faint glow of light in the distance. As it turns out, a natural bridge was separating this sinkhole from another. I wasn't really interested in pushing my luck to swim the distance, and the bottom was super merkable as well, which can be really dangerous in this kind of scenario, so I was content to say, that's pretty cool, and then just head back up the surface. There are a few strands of twine that led down into both cave systems in the sinkhole. These are placed here by experienced cave divers who have permits to explore these drowned subterranean labyrinths. Despite some promising habitat, we still hadn't turned up any cave crayfish. But as I headed back to the entry log to make my exit, Bill told me to take a closer look at the log itself. The log was covered in a small army of shrimp. Now, these weren't the crustaceans we were looking for, but no way was I going to go about my business without checking out these shrimps. These are glass shrimp. They're a freshwater species of shrimp that feed on bits of algae and detritus and are pretty common throughout a lot of freshwater systems in Florida. They're also almost entirely translucent, hence the name glass shrimp. In addition to their near transparency, they're also only about an inch long, so they're pretty easy to miss if you don't know what you're looking for. We got in the water on the log in order to keep from murking the water and to avoid causing erosion on the bank, but the shrimps were a good reminder of the importance of treading lightly and being mindful of what might be hanging out beneath your feet. But with that, it was time to bid this woodland sinkhole oasis farewell and continue our quest for cave crayfish. No cave crayfish, but that was still a really, really awesome sinkhole. Holy cow. But we're on, keep exploring. Well, as promised, we're gonna check this one. Theory is, as Bill said, cave crayfish tend to be light averse. There's a huge carpet of duckweed across this sinkhole, so there's a chance, but gotta get in to find out. So gonna get covered in plants. You can't always judge a book from its cover. From the surface, I know that a swampy sinkhole like this might look, well, kind of booty cheeks. But beneath that thin veil of green, I found myself in an eerie underwater world that was every bit spectacular in its own right. The sinkhole was mostly full of sticks and branches, but that didn't matter. The whole pool was glowing like it was radioactive. Now, I snorkel a lot, but I've never experienced anything like this before. I saw a few fish swimming about in the sinkhole, and all I could think of is what a crazy place to live. They must think everything is green. I did what I could to look for cave crayfish, but the lack of limestone meant this habitat, as crazy cool as it may be, wasn't super promising in the rare crayfish department. And I didn't see any. But as I turned around to head out, my trail through the duckweed created an opening for the sunlight to pierce through, revealing the true blue clarity of this forbidden aquatic kingdom. Ten of 10 snorkel, no regrets. Doing duckweed with my snorkel. Well, there's not a lot of like karst or limestone topography down there. It's mostly sticks and debris, but it's crystal clear. That's so cool. My gear's gonna be a little bit. Got a little bit of that green sauce on it, but it'll be okay. Oh, that's awesome. Man, whole another world down there. So cool. Alright. Finally back. Ooh. Now at this point, I thought we had failed to find the cave crayfish. I even went ahead and filmed the end of the video here, but what I hadn't accounted for was Tom. Tom is a fellow underwater photographer and friend. He knew about our cave crayfish quest and said he knew a spot. We met up and followed him off into the woods to the mouth of a small cave opening that had a shallow pool of water. We walked up to the edge and Tom instructed us to have a look around.
Okay.
Wait, where are they? You see them?
There's one middle one and one
No
there.
way! That's crazy!
Walking up to check it out.
Check it out.
There's a
Look
third
at that.
one. Fourth one.
Yeah.
As I dipped my camera in the water, out of the darkness, tiny ghostly-looking crustaceans appeared in the distance. At last, the cave crayfish. And there wasn't just one or two. There were at least 10, all creeping around in this sinkhole cave. These guys were very small, ranging from less than an inch on the smaller end to about 1.5 inches for the big ones. So I decided to switch over to my macro lens to better appreciate these minute crustaceans. Just look at that. This species is the Woodsville karst cave crayfish. I know the shrimps from earlier have dibs on the glass part of their name, but these crayfish looked like if you touched them, they'd shatter. The legs reminded me of the plastic used to attach tags to new t-shirts. They're so thin and spindly. I kind of hate that a wild animal reminds me of plastic, but, well, here we are. You could even see some of their organs inside their cephalothorax, or their fused head and midsection. I'm pretty sure that yellow thing is part of their digestive system, but my knowledge of crayfish anatomy is kind of limited. What, you think cephalothorax is just on regular rotation in my lexicon? No way. I had to look that up. But if you look closely, you'll notice that these guys barely have eyeballs. In comparison, if you go back and look at the glass shrimp from the first sinkhole, they have relatively big eyes, but the cave crayfish eyes are incredibly reduced. This is a common characteristic of cave-dwelling species. When you live in the dark, vision isn't all that helpful of a sense. White or opaque coloration is also common in cave-dwelling animals. They don't need pigment to protect them from the sun down here, and camouflage isn't all that important when there aren't many predators in these underground labyrinths. You might think that if you see one cave crayfish, you've seen them all, but that's not true. This species can only be found within a 100 square mile area. Although the Floridan aquifer connects all of these sinkholes throughout the state and beyond, there's still plenty of barriers that keep these crayfish fairly confined to specific regions. So although they may look similar, these cave crayfish have evolved in isolation into a variety of distinct species. Pretty cool how diverse freshwater ecosystems leads to diverse freshwater creatures. You'd think that living underwater and underground would be pretty safe, but development, groundwater pollution, and saltwater intrusion back into the aquifer all pose a threat to cave crayfish habitat. Not to mention the fact that many people don't even know they exist way down beneath their feet. Thanks to Tom, Bill and I completed our quest to find these rare little cave ghosts. And although it ended up being kind of easy, again, shout out to Tom, but hey, snorkeling is all about what you see along the way. I know when people hear the word sinkhole, they tend to think about getting swallowed by the earth or the veiled threat of loss in property value, but I'd suggest the potential for mind-boggling beauty on both a large and small scale should be entered into the mix as well. Took us a while to find them, and it was definitely very easy, thanks to Tom, but man, so cool. Definitely still glad that we went to those other sinkholes because, man, they were incredible. But yeah, glad we finally got those cave crayfish. What a cool little tiny underappreciated freshwater crustacean. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.